Have you ever heard the term lifer before, where somebody just finds such great alignment that they stick around for a really, really long time? Well, today's guest, Tyler, is that for an organization called Live Different. He started out in their programs and is now on the ground staff in Mexico working for this incredible organization. So we talk about everything from the academy program that Live Different offers to finding skills that you have and connecting with your passions. So if you are considering a gap year, this is a great episode for you to take a listen to because it encompasses so many of the key elements that make up an amazing gap experience. Welcome to the Gap Year Podcast, where we explore the who, what, where, when, and why of gap years. It's real people sharing their stories, ideas, and experts diving deep into how you can make the right decisions in order to have a meaningful gap year. This is the place to be no matter where you are on your gap year journey. I'm Michelle Dittmer, your resident gap year expert. Let's jump right in. Hey there, and welcome to the Gap Year Podcast. My name is Michelle Dittmer, and I am your host and Gap Year expert. On today's podcast, we have the incredible Tyler coming to us, sharing all of his great information on all of the different ways that he has been able to make a difference in other people's lives through programs that he's been involved in through Live Different. And we're talking kind of a little bit all over the world, in Mexico, in the Dominican Republic, in Haiti. So just so many ways that he has been found to contribute to the world around him. So Tyler, welcome to the podcast.
Hey there, Michelle. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on here. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for setting this up. And yeah, like you said, I have been, working in many different countries and getting to experience really, really cool and new and exciting things in each of them, and looking forward to chatting about those all today. Like you said, my name is Tyler Layton, and I'm originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada, and currently living and working with an organization called Live Different. They're a Canadian charity, and I'm currently down in Mexico right now, in Vicente Guerrero, Baja, Mexico, and that is where I'm coming to you guys from today.
Amazing. That's so great. We have so many wonderful international guests on the podcast, which always gives it a great new flair. But homegrown Canadian, out abroad, and really, really finding some purpose in life, which is so exciting. So given that this is the Gap Year podcast, this is something that is near and dear to your heart and kind of shaped who you are. So way back in the day, you took your own gap year. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you came to that decision?
Yeah, so it was 2018, and I was a couple of years out of high school. And Live Different, the organization that I'm now working with, they have an academy program. It's called the Academy, and it is a gap year program for kind of post-high school students up to about 24 or 25 years old who are looking to, to learn more about themselves, to experience something different, to work internationally in a different country, and learn a lot more about themselves and kind of find themselves along the way. And I'd been involved with Live Different as a volunteer for many years before 2018. But I remember being out of high school, working, not entirely sure what it was that I wanted to do. I hadn't been to university at that point, and I was really in a bit of a rut. I wasn't sure, which way I wanted to go next in my life. And I kind of seemed a bit lost in what that next step was going to be. And so I had remembered the Academy, and I had heard many great things about it from past volunteers, past participants of the program. I got on the phone with our program director down here, Rose, who runs the Academy, and had a conversation about what that would look like. And before I knew it, I was registered for that fall of 2018. and I came down here to Baja, Mexico, where I am now. And I spent 3 months here volunteering in the community, just being completely immersed in the culture and the community, and learning about social justice issues and about myself, and doing a lot of soul searching. And yeah, it turned out to be 3 very, very formative months in my life.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing. And I love that your story is so similar to so many people on a gap year. We get a lot of people that are feeling a little bit lost, feeling a little bit directionless. Maybe they've tried something and it wasn't as glamorous as they thought, or they step out of high school and are kind of like, well, this is different than a classroom. What do I do? We aren't always fully prepared for confidently taking those next steps. And sometimes it's great to connect with something that gives you a little bit of traction, gives you a place to focus your energy, gives you a place to do that deep dive. Because in high school, sometimes you're so busy getting the grades, being part of the clubs, meeting the people, dealing with all the drama, getting those grades to get into university, that we forget to think about who we are and who we want to become, and really grow as a person. So I'm so glad that that was something that Live Different was able to do for you, that you were able to have all of that growth in so many different areas of who you are. I think that's a really powerful tool to have in your tool belt.
Yeah, and for me, high school, I enjoyed the structure and the schedule of a high school. You know, for 4 years and most of school, obviously, you have this routine, this day to day, where you know exactly what you're doing. And so after high school, you know, you kind of lose that a little bit. And I think you become, you know, all the decisions you make really are going to make bigger impacts on your life, because they're more big life decisions after you've turned 18 and you finished high school. And so for me, you know, I know lots of people are really into backpacking and kind of creating their own adventure, and that wasn't necessarily for me. I liked the idea of having a program that had structure, that had routine, had people leading it, you know, but also still gave me a lot of freedom to, you know, to explore myself. And when I was down here with the academy, I got to kind of create my own semester down here, and kind of do different things that I enjoyed doing, and explore different parts of my personality, and grow a little bit as well. So I like the idea of having the structure. And so that's why the academy was a really good fit for me.
Okay, maybe we can unpack this a little bit. So the name Academy sounds like school, sounds like it's very formal, sounds very impressive. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the day-to-day of what that looks like. Like, is it like school?
It is like school, but it's also not like school. I wish I went to a school like the academy for all 12 years that I was in public school. But yeah, the Live Different Academy, it's similar to a school setting in the way that there are classes. Typically during the week, each morning you'd start with Spanish classes, because we're in Mexico, and that's one of the most important things I've found of being down in Mexico, is learning the language. It's the best way to communicate with everyone in the community and really feel immersed in the culture, is by learning that language. So yeah, you're starting your day with Spanish classes each day, moving into social justice classes, talking about international development, and talking about different issues going on in the world. So there is an educational aspect to it, but then you're also learning the entire time. And so that's where that academy kind of aspect comes into it, is you are learning about yourself, about the world, about what it means to, you know, to work in a group, to work with other people, every single day for the whole 13 weeks that you're there. You're learning in so many different ways, by doing, but also by sitting in a classroom for part of it, but then just going out and exploring. So it's a very different type of classroom most of the time, but that's how I would say it's similar to an educational experience.
And I think people need to really start to wrap their head around this idea of lifelong learning, We sometimes say like the classroom is the only way that you can learn. Like your education stops the day you graduate or the day you finish your undergrad. And I think what we need to really help people understand is that that learning takes on so many forms, and the role of teacher or instructor takes on so many different forms throughout our lives, and we're continually learning. And while sometimes we do it in a more formal, structured way, we solidify that when we get that hands-on experience, when we can apply what we've learned in a really meaningful way. So it's not just this theoretical thing. Sometimes with like chemistry, like theoretically those molecules combine together to make water, but like I can't see that, so I can't make that connection. Whereas programs like Live Different that have that formal learning component, but then it's followed up in the same day with the application of what you're learning. And I think that that is such a powerful learning model that partners so well with self-discovery and understanding your place in this big world that maybe actually isn't quite so big after all.
Yeah, it is. It's the best of both worlds. Like you said, you have that in classroom aspect followed right by that hands-on application out in the community with other local organizations, getting that face-to-face experience with the people that live right there in this community that we're living in for this short amount of time as students with the Academy, but getting to kind of step into their world, hear their stories, and learn what life is like for real people here in Mexico.
Definitely. And then, so organizations like Live Different can help people who need a little bit of traction and a little bit of support to feel a little bit more comfortable, because not everybody has strapped on a backpack, gone to another country where it's not their native tongue, where there are people coming from a different culture, where you are not in your comfort zone. So what are some things that Live Different does in order to support that process?
Yeah, I think the one thing you just said that's so important is that comfort zone thing. I think for me personally, and for lots of the students that I experienced the Academy with, and I've seen in the program since, is that the Academy and the time with Live Different really gives them the opportunity to step outside of their comfort zone. For so many of the Academy students, this is their first experience living away from their family, their parents, any sort of lifestyle they were used to back in Canada. That sort of first time being independent, maybe the first time that they've had to be responsible for making a meal for a group of people, or doing their own laundry, or a few of those things that we maybe take for granted when it comes to our parents being around all the time. And I think it really gives people the opportunity to step out of their comfort zone, try new things, and then, like you said, sets them up for whatever might be next in their life. I've seen many students after the Academy really find this different confidence to start some sort of organization or club or program back in their own community. Or they've decided, yeah, now that I've had this structured of a program, I feel a bit more confident to go and grab my backpack and go check out Eastern Asia or some other international destination. And that's, I think, one of the cool things about this Academy program is a way to do a lot of that in a very safe, secure, more structured way with other people who are kind of in the same boat as you. And then it's kind of that stepping off point, that jumping off for other opportunities that could be coming up after.
Amazing. And two things that really pop out to me when I'm talking with young people and we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone. There's your comfort zone, which is like your comfy PJs on your couch, Netflix, like you feel really, really comfortable there. And it's a place that you're not pushing your boundaries. And we want people to get out of their comfort zone But there's a point also where we push past comfort into like the overwhelm zone. And that's not a good place to be either. And I think for people that are concerned of going into that overwhelm zone, having an organization there to bring you back into your comfort zone allows for that growth to happen, because they know that there's somebody there supporting them. So they might not be ready, like you said, to set off with by themselves with a backpack somewhere else in the world. But this might be a really great place to push you out of your comfort zone into that challenge zone without feeling that overwhelm. And through that process, you develop skills and you develop independence and you develop confidence, so that whatever those next steps in your life are, you've got this arsenal of skills that you've developed with a little bit of structure, so that you can take on additional challenges that would then be in your new challenge zone that might have been in your overwhelm zone before heading off to a program like this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for me, I lived a lot of my life in my comfort zone. And I think that since the academy, I've really stepped out of that comfort zone and tried new things and really challenged myself. And it was the program that actually, forced me to challenge myself and pushed me to challenge myself. But I always knew that there was people around to kind of fall back onto, to connect with, to help ground me, like Rose and like now myself for the other organization, like for the other groups that have come since I've been in the academy. Having some people there leading and being by your side throughout the whole program, but also letting you have that freedom and that independence at the same time is really nice. It's good to know that there's people there that are looking out for you, pushing you to step into those more challenging zones, but that are there along that journey as well.
And so we're going to switch gears a little bit, because you talked about, you've kind of now found a path in your life that wasn't there pre-academy, and you found a home and found a sense of purpose. And so how can experiences like this help people who may be feeling a little bit directionless? How can something like this maybe lead them to discover something about themselves that will give them a direction?
Yeah, I think I'm really big on finding your purpose and what that means. And for me, I think I connect purpose with like joy and happiness and like what brings you joy. And I think those kinds of things that you can find in your life that just bring you true joy and fulfillment are these things that could be our purpose in life. And I think when it comes to the academy and any sort of gap year program where you're going off into an international country to volunteer, to serve, or to work internationally, you're going to be doing things that you're good at. You're going to be sharing skills that you're good at, things that you've acquired, gifts that you have in your life that you can contribute. And I think when you go to help people and when you're using those gifts to help other people, you begin to kind of figure out what it is that you're meant to do, or what it is that is your purpose. And that's kind of what happened for me. I had a lot of what I call gifts. I had a lot of things that I was really good at, in my life, just naturally, things that you're good at. Those are our gifts. And I think when you go to the academy or any type of gap year program, you can really hone those skills. You can really, put them to the test, and I think for us, I came down here and I was given the opportunity to say, hey, this is something I'm good at. And then the leaders were like, okay, how do we take that and implement it into this 3-month program? How do we take a skill that you're really good at, whether that's teaching, working with people, working with kids, and how do we send you in that direction to kind of help fulfill this purpose? And so that's kind of what my experience was. I had so many things that I loved to do. Little backstory, I used to be a competitive dancer. I used to teach dance. I used to be into the arts and music. And that was something I really loved to do. But then coming down here, I found that there was a way to connect those things, and that my true joy and my true purpose was just working with people, was teaching people, was working with younger people and kind of inspiring them to find what is best about them. And so, I took this thing that I had done for so long, and I was able to kind of implement it down here during that 3-month gap program. And that shifted then into this position that I now have with LiveDifferent, doing just that. And, I have the Academy to thank for that, of course.
And I love that you recognize that you had these gifts that you were bringing to the table, and not everybody knows what their gifts are. And so opportunities like this is also a way to test out and find out what those gifts are, because everybody has certain things that they're good at, and maybe they don't even realize that they're good at them, or they don't realize that other people would value those gifts. And I think
Right.
when we come together with a community that's all about development, that's all pushing everybody out of their comfort zone, these things can bubble up and they can emerge and they can flourish in a way that they don't necessarily if you're just doing your status quo. And once we get into new environments with new people and we take different types of calculated risks, then we are able to really grow and develop and discover a little bit more about who we are and how we can share who we are with those around us. And I think your story is just such a great illustration of that. And I think it's really, really touching. And I know that that is possible for all those people out there who are exploring a gap year and are spending this time and are taking on new challenges. I think that you serve as a really great template for being able to allow those gifts and talents to bubble up to the surface so that they can find a little bit more purpose and a little bit more direction in their lives. So I want to ask you one more question. I really want to know, on your gap year, what were the strongest things that you learned about yourself and that you might not have experienced if you just kind of stayed in the workforce or went to school? What were some of those pivotal things that came out of your gap experience?
Yeah, I think for me, like I've kind of, said throughout this whole conversation, is that I was able to discover that there was possibilities and things that I could love to do more than what I was already doing. That there was more out there, that I didn't have to do something because it was safe or because it was comfortable or because it was the normal thing to do. Throughout high school and even the couple years after, I was constantly surrounded by this conversation of university, and there's this path and there's this thing you're supposed to do and there's these steps you're supposed to take. And I personally never felt like I quite fit into that mold. And so getting to go to this academy program and this gap year and get to experience just that there's so much more out there and there's so many other unique ways to use your gifts other than the traditional route, I think was really cool for me. That there were these things that I was good at that I could do in so many different ways, and I could use them in different aspects. And the way that transitioned into working with LiveDifferent was really, really neat to see happen.
Amazing. I think, again, such a transformational story that is possible for all the other folks out there. So if folks wanted to learn more about the programming that you're running and the things that LiveDifferent offers, if these stories resonated with our listeners, where can they find out more information?
Yeah, well, I love social media. That is one of my favorite zones. And so definitely following LiveDifferent on any social media platform, Instagram, Facebook. We are a very visual organization. We take tons of photos and capture tons of stories, and that's kind of a really good place to share them. So, at LiveDiff is our Instagram, following LiveDifferent on Facebook if you're still on Facebook. And then, yeah, I think you can check out livedifferent.com and go to our Academy page, which will give you a really good breakdown of the program, the timeline, what that looks like, what the commitment is, and just, yeah, more ways to get connected and talk with myself, with Rose, with Allison, and any other staff that you need to connect with to get down there and make it happen.
Amazing. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Your story and your enthusiasm is sure to excite others on their journey. So head to the Live Different website or follow them on social media for more information. So thanks again.
Thanks, Michelle.